Yes, I'm a rider. I think I've got him beat by 10 years. I've been riding about 40 years. Started in 1974 on a Honda CB350. I didn't hear that. Am I glad? He was 5? Hey. Yes, I am a senior citizen. I wear it proudly. But I did want to prove I am a rider. These are my current 2 bikes. You want to go long and slow? I can do that. You want to go short and fast? I can do that. I just recently, I think I've owned every style of motorcycle you could possibly have except for a sport bike. And a few months ago I said, I really need to try one of those. So I went out and bought a 2009 ZX14. It still feels a little funny to me. And sometimes when you jump on the throttle, it scares me. I'll tell you quite frankly, because the son of a gun will get up and go. But these are my 2 current bikes. How many of y'all name your bikes? Come on, admit it. There's too many guys in here. They're going, I ain't going to admit it. Well, mine is Sunrise and Sunset. I can get up, go fast in the morning, and I can ride long into the evening. I did a Facebook survey of friends, say, what should I name them? Sunset had her name for a long time because of that evening sun. I was riding one day, I said, oh, she's got to be Sunset. But Sunrise, I let my friends come up with that one. This is my email address. If you don't have it, jot it down. We are actually in the process of looking at our regional plan for 2015 and what we're going to do to try to see what we can do to affect motorcycle safety. It is an issue that we want to address, but I will tell you quite frankly, the resources are not there to address it. If you look at the money going to the states for motorcycle safety that were provided by Congress, it's just not a lot of money. In the state of Texas, when you talk about giving them from the federal government $450,000, $500,000, woohoo! It's not much. I mean, it's just a pittance. What can you do in the state of Texas for $450,000? I think TxDOT does all they can with it, but it's just not a lot of money. I'm actually have the state of New Mexico as the state I most closely work with. You know how much they get over there for motorcycle safety for the federal government? $38,000. You can't even throw a good meeting for $38,000. But jot my number down. If you've got some ideas, same thing with DJ. We want to listen. I definitely don't know everything about motorcycle safety, and quite frankly, a lot of times I sit there scratching my head going, I don't know how to get my hands around this. And so we're always looking for something. Today though, just looking at the people, I guess I've been to this meeting, how long have we had it? 6, 7, 8 years? I see a lot of heads going this. I'm not sure if it's 6, 7, or 8, but I've been speaking at this meeting for a long time, and what I see now, y'all might as well start singing, because y'all are all the choir. I've seen all you guys for a long time, and so I know now I'm talking to the core group, the ones that have bought in and are really interested. Your trainers, you work for the state, I'm only fed, but you're all here because you're involved with safety somehow. So, like I said, we've got to figure out how to go out there and engage that other 450,000 people that are out here riding motorcycles in the state of Texas, and hopefully from today, we can do a little education, everybody learn a little something, and we can figure out how to move forward. There has been some, no, that's not me. I kind of put that up there though, just a reminder. Don't you think a lot of times this is the way the public always kind of thinks of us? They don't notice us guys that may be just cruising down the road doing everything right, but you let one guy go by them like this, all them darn bikers, go by them, blow them 130 or whatever, So we are fighting kind of a little bit of problem with the perception of the public, because I think a lot of them is, so what? So what if they get hit? So what if they get killed? They're out there, they're doing stuff they ain't supposed to. A lot of them, you're wearing a full face helmet like me. Some of them even thinking I might be a young guy on that ZX14, young kid riding in motorcycles. But they don't care, because unfortunately there's a few bad apples that I think are affecting the perception of the whole. And when you got that, what do we lose from the general public? We lose that support, right? So if you got things going up to the legislature, other things you're trying to do, the general public, which we need, to support our efforts, a lot of times they might not be there because they're thinking, who cares? What's the deal? Here's the numbers I did hear a number thrown out for 2013. I don't have that number yet. My numbers come from the federal reporting system, fatal analysis reporting system. Well, it's as current as we are is 2012. These are the Texas numbers from 2008 to 2012. What do you see? I mean, it's a significant number. In the state of Texas, this is what percentage of your total fatalities? It's a little bit higher than that. It's running about 12, 13%. Some of those numbers. 16%. So that motorcyclists, I can tell you back 10 years ago, nobody, including NHTSA, wasn't looking too much at motorcycle fatalities. Why? It was 2, 3% of the numbers. And sometimes you have to sit there and go, where am I going to put my money? We don't have a lot. Usually we're going to go put the money where the big numbers are. Well, unfortunately, today, when you start talking 10, 13, 16% of the total fatalities in the state of Texas being motorcyclists, yeah, that's something you're going to have to start addressing and looking at. But what I notice is there's not a whole bunch of change. You go back to 2008, it's a little bit higher, but we're floating in that 450 range, give a little bit here and there, back and forth. And I think the number y'all said for 2013 that we don't have yet is going to be higher than 2012. 500. Right at 500, so that is going up. We also know that when we talk about fatalities, that's really just the tip of the iceberg, right? Because there's a boatload of crashes out there that doesn't result in a fatality. And when you look at your hospital costs and all the rest of the stuff related to it, this right here is where your big money is. You take a person that's in their 20s and 30s and cripple them for life to where they've got to have full-time care or brain trauma or whatever. Man, that's where the big money, so insurance companies, individuals, there's a lot of money going into taking care of people that have been hurt in motorcycle crashes. And unfortunately, some of those people are hurt more than they need to be because they haven't decided to wear the right safety gear or do the things that they need to do. But once again, when you look at the crash numbers, what do you see? We really haven't, we're fairly consistent over that period of time. We're not seeing a lot of movement. Some could say we're probably positive because we did talk about the population growth. Texas, we're booming. So, holding constant sometimes can be a victory because you are fighting the greater numbers all the time. This is the national numbers on people killed on motorcycles. Once again, I guess we're kind of trending at the national level, pretty much the same. But I wanted to put down here just to show what's going on in Texas. Where are you, Texas? You're 10% of almost the national number. So you're starting to be the kind of the 800-pound gorilla in the program. And when you can go to say one state, Texas, there's 10% of all the motorcycle fatalities. Yes, sir. We do. Across the South, we do. We fight that. Because do I ever put my bike up? No. I'm riding November, December, January. We ride year round. We are blessed with weather that we can ride through in the winter. You go to Pennsylvania, they put their bike up in September and they unwax it in March, So they've got half the riding season. So we know we fight that. And unfortunately, I'm going to show you a slide here in a minute on some other things that we fight from down here in the South. Now, I know it's not popular. In some areas, once again, I'm not so sure here. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. I'm a full-face helmet guy all the time, okay? I used to wear an open face. And as I've gotten older, I've got more conservative. I'd usually wear blue boots, but I wouldn't wear an armor jacket. Now I'm probably the only place I'm really hurting. I still wear blue jeans. You know, I don't necessarily wear any good protection on my legs, but I always have gloves, a helmet, armor jacket, boots, and gloves. And I don't care if it's 110, 115, that's what I'm going to ride in, because I believe it's safe. I think I owe it to myself, owe it to my family and everybody else to make myself as safe as I possibly can. But here in Texas, we don't have a primary helmet law. We've got a lot of the population, especially the ones that are dying, about 60% of the time, it's a choice, choose not to wear the helmet. And that makes a difference in these crashes. I heard of one guy that was in a parade, parade speed, barely fast enough to get your feet up on the pegs once in a while, fell over, hit his head, and died. Doesn't take that much of head trauma to turn into a serious situation. I've actually tried to challenge some guys that says, if you're sitting here and you got that concrete brick wall over there, and I challenge you, I said, hey, run over there as fast as you can, put your head down and hit that wall. Would you do it? Without a helmet. Which one are you going to feel better on when you hit that wall? If I give you a helmet, you might do it with a helmet, but I'm not going to run in that wall, but you'll run down the highway at 80 miles an hour. I don't know, R+. Here's the national numbers. What does this show you? Texas usage rates against the national numbers. About 20% less, right? We were up around the 58% nationally down in the rest of the country. But you have several states around the country that do have full helmet laws. In our region, we have two, Louisiana and Mississippi. Those are the two states that have helmets. Whoop, I got some slides out of place. All right, one thing I'm not a statistician, mathematician, any of those stitians, okay? But we got people in Washington that do that stuff, and they actually go and they analyze if everybody had 100% use of helmets in the state of Texas, what would that do? This is showing right here what we would estimate in lives saved if we had 100% utilization. This actually comes out of our data system on the FAR system. How many people have been to NHTSA's website where the data is? Okay. It's a pretty good place to go. There's a lot of information. If you're ever doing a talk or presentation, you can go in there. I pulled this straight out of there, put it into here. You can use it that way. You can also go in there, and it's got, we talked about mapping. It's got a capability to go in there and map all the crashes in the state of Texas, motorcycle fatalities. Now, I can tell you, I've tried to go in there and do some analysis, say, okay, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to really figure out where to talk to TxDOT about putting their resources. You know what it looks like? I said Houston. I said, man, I got to go to Houston. Big place, we can go in there, we can zero on some particular part of Houston, go in there and we can fix it. As I kept zooming in, you know what it looked like? Somebody used number 9 shot across Houston. I'm like, I can't sit here and say, well, this intersection or this section of roadway is where we got to concentrate. That makes it harder, right? We got to kind of shotgun our message too, because the crashes are occurring all over the place. These are the numbers as far as age. As most of y'all see, I've kind of fallen up here in this 50 to 59 now, which is pretty high. We've got an older riding population out there. I can tell, guys, because I'm looking at y'all, okay? We have an older riding population, okay? So a lot of them are dying up in here. But, those crazy sport bike guys that all look young with their full face helmets, they're dying at pretty high rates too. So when you look at that, where do you put your resources here? Kind of all over the place, ain't it? So, you keep wiggling around, looking around, trying to figure out where can I go, what can I do? It's not a good, easy way to do it, Here's the numbers on the regional impaired driving fatalities. This is what I was just going to put up for, you can kind of see what's happening in the states around us. I was going to really kind of point you to this center column right here. This is the number of fatalities that the driver was above the .0 0.08 legal limit. Kind of scroll down here, see what you see. Who's leading? Texas, 36%. That's about a third, right? A little bit over a third. Now, got another column there that's lower, 0.1 to 0.07, another 8%. Now, I'm a personal believer that, motorcycle riding takes some skill. And at any level of alcohol use, you're losing some of that skill. So, if you add them up together, we're about 45% of the drivers of the motorcycles have a measurable amount of alcohol in their system when they die. Yes, sir?
This is motorcycle information only?
Yes. These are motorcyclists. I guess I should have put that in my title, but this is only motorcycles. And a lot of times when I'm dealing with some of the other groups out there that keep wanting to blame all of the crashes on the four-wheelers, I kind of have to step back and say, but I can't put it all on them guys, 45% of the guys riding the motorcycles are dying when they've had alcohol in the system, okay? So we got to take some responsibility back and try to do what we got to do to try to protect ourselves and our friends and our buddies. I kind of want a campaign on be your brother, save your brother. Don't let your brother drive drunk. If you really care about your brother, don't let him go. Yes, sir.
I said 428 died, right, in Texas?
Yes.
Is that a year?
Yes.
Particular year?
That's FY, I think I used FY 12.
Okay. Well, there just was over 400 and something killed that year on motorcycles total.
Right.
So that would be about 9.
Well, what I did is I showed the total, and then here's the number that had where alcohol impaired, 156, 36%.
Right, 36% of the ones died.
Right. All right. Kind of along that same line of us motorcyclists, because I'm one of you, right? I showed you my bikes. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of miles I've been out there. Another thing, I can't blame it on other people. Yes, I guess I could have swerved to miss the car and had the crash and died. But look at single vehicle crashes. These are the total numbers. Then these are the times that the motorcycle is the only vehicle involved in the crash. 40-something% of the time. So, I can't blame it on a whole bunch of the four-wheelers when there's nobody else involved. And we know, like I said, you're the choir. I'm going to make y'all sing here in a minute, okay? But we know why they're crashing, right? I think we know. Inexperience. I've showed you the drinking. They get into situations they don't know how to handle. They can't ride. Now, there's a lot of people that can't go around a curve. And you throw a little bit, off angle, boy, they're really messed up if they're carrying any speed into it, okay? So, these are all reasons that it's happening. I told you about the Stitzy site, the FAR site. These are actually maps that are in there too. This just shows your fatalities broken down by 100,000 population, motorcycle fatalities. But like I said, you can go in there and you can actually look and break it down by county, by whatever, and have it mapped if you want to go in there and check that out. Those maps didn't really show anything real special other than where the high populations are, that's where your highest motorcycle fatalities are. That kind of trends, it makes sense. I personally, I don't commute into Fort Worth on my motorcycle. I go in the morning, it's dark, and everybody's in a hurry, and they love changing lanes, and I just say, I'm gonna cage it. It's not worth me trying to fight it in just so to ride that motorcycle. Sometimes you just got to make a smart decision to save your own life. Yes, sir.
Are we seeing, obviously the larger population does represent a larger number just in terms of the raw number. Do we see anything trending towards ride and destination type places? Riders
I kind of looked at that on this mapping feature. I really kind of went out to the Three Sisters because I know a lot of people like to go out there. I didn't see a lot more. We know, and those are dangerous roads, but the concentration never got significant enough for me to be able to go and say, this is the place. This is where we need to focus our efforts. It's just all over the place. We're many and we're everywhere. We're scattered around. What I want to do kind of just tell you that Up in Washington, we've got all those statisticians, mathematicians, experts, research. You know, we got some research people back here. Y'all take a bow. You know, I wouldn't want to do it, but we appreciate you guys that like sitting in those dark rooms in front of those computers looking at numbers, okay? We need them. The rest of us, we'd rather be riding, but we need you guys to try to help us save some lives.
I do recommend that you not look at the numbers while you're
Yeah, yeah. And I try not to text, but all right, these are just some of the things that we've got going on, and I tell you, if you ask me for a lot of detail on, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know, because this is all handled by people in Washington. The regional office that I work out in Fort Worth, Texas, we don't get involved. What we get is the report when they're finished, but I just called them up and said, hey, tell me what you're doing. I want to be able to share with the guys that are here today that are interested in that. I want to be able to share it so they can see some of the reports that are coming out. This one's should be finished in fall of 15. We're trying to look at influential, big word for me, factors for helmet usage compliance in states without universal helmet laws. So what are we trying to do there? Trying to get people to wear them if you don't have a helmet law. So we've got a research project going on and looking at some states that might have a fairly high helmet usage rate and doesn't have a universal helmet law, and saying, what is that state doing? Is there something that we can borrow from that state and put over in this state that needs it? You know, I'm kind of anxious to see if this comes out with anything that's useful. It's got to have to be some type of educational component, I believe, but I don't know. Yes, sir.
I have a friend here in town whose family owned a dealership for 23 years. The Texas helmet law was repealed and put back in 3 times. He said every time it was repealed and there was no helmet law, they sold twice as many helmets as they did when it was put in. He said he never understood that and cannot hardly believe it, but
That's what
worked out in his dealership.
that's what they showed. Louisiana's kind of our petri dish because Louisiana's had their helmet law on and off probably as much as any state in the nation. Now they're on, but I mean, if you look, it'd be every 2 or 3 years they'd take it out, and then put it back, and they'd put it out. So, you know, they probably had it on and off over there about 5 different times. And generally, when it goes on, the crash numbers do go down.
Less crashes with a helmet.
Less fatalities. Longitudinal study to improve crash avoidance skills. NHTSA's partnered with Motorcycle Safety Foundation in response to requests from Congress. Congress cares. They ain't giving you a lot of money, but they care. That NHTSA coordinate with the motorcycle community to focus on additional strategies that will enhance rider crash avoidance skills. So they're trying to figure out if there's, for you trainers, which I think there's about 30% of the 40% of the people in here, is there some things that maybe you can teach that might help that you're not teaching now? Motorcycle law enforcement demonstrations. This one is not popular with a lot of the motorcycle rights groups. Anytime they talk about motorcycles enforcement, they don't like being targeted or looked at, but there are some things being researched. They did something in Georgia to demonstrate implementation of motorcycle safety checkpoints to improve motorcycle safety and compliance with jurisdictional laws. That's supposed to be finished in spring of 2014. I can tell you the other day going to work, there was a motorcycle that should have went through a checkpoint. Why? He's running down the road in rush hour traffic in the morning in the dark with no taillight. You know, somebody should have looked at his bike and said, you ain't got nothing on the back of your bike. It's dark out here. Somebody's liable to run over you at 70 miles an hour. Yes, sir.
As far as safety checkpoints, if it's safe for the motorcycle, let's make it safe for everybody.
I can't argue it. I'm just saying that they're looking at trying to find some ways to address the motorcycle issue.
As far as the guy with the tail light, every time I get on mine,
You look.
you walk around and check your blinkers.
Probably not as often as I should, but it is something that we all need to do, especially when you're leaving in the dark hours. But, you know, you tend to get in a hurry, going to work. You want to get there, hop on it, take off. You know, he's running down there, and I mean no light at all. Barely could see his headlight in the front side.
Will NHTSA publish the results of that?
Yes, all of these are research projects. They're actually predicting this one should be spring of 2014. So that report should come out here in the next few months.
Was there any particular reason why they picked Georgia?
Probably because Georgia agreed to take the money and do the project. And I have to be careful because he's recording everything I say today. So. Yes, sir.
I think they picked it because for Bike Week, people travel through there. So I think you get a higher density of motorcycle traffic there, and that probably was.
And there was another state that did it too. Y'all remember who the other state that was doing? New York was doing motorcycle checkpoints up there too.
Do you recall if there was any special educational component for the police officer prior to?
Not that I'm aware of. Yes, sir.
DITSA has a program, it's called High Vis, and they're training their officers for that. And they were doing it in Indiana specifically last year.
All right. Have I changed it? Law enforcement training anticipated completion. The International Association of Directors of Law Enforcement is tasked with converting the training course from an in-person delivery mechanism to an electronic delivery. What they've done is that they were actually tried to put together a course to train law enforcement. I think Texas even took some of that and spun off and did their own, right? Give me an amen? Yeah? Okay. And so what they're trying to do is take that in-house course where you did it like we're doing now and develop it into something that's electronic where you can actually put out a DVD or online course so that it's not as expensive and you don't have to, trying to get officers sometime to come to training is hard too, Especially smaller police departments, they have a hard time giving up the person to go take a day or two of training, especially if it's something out of their normal requirements. Demonstration to increase the number of properly endorsed motorcyclists, that's in spring of 2004, and Massachusetts is working on that. Anybody tell me the number in the fatals in Texas, how many of those are not properly endorsed to be operating the motorcycle? Is it that high? I thought it was like 37. Okay, the numbers I saw was back closer to 40, but it's a significant number. There's a significant number of people aren't even legally authorized to ride the vehicle that they're on, according to the state law. So once again, that's something else to try to evaluate if there's something that can be done in the state to up those numbers. Update the implementation guide for the National Agenda for Motorcycle Safety. How many of y'all looked at the old guide? It's been out there for a long time. It's recommendations. States can follow and try to improve motorcycle safety. They're updating that. I've actually been hoping it'd be out way before now because I want to send it back out to the states to see if we got any new stuff. Motorcycle operator manual. Mom, did that make you feel warm and cozy? And knowledge test question database, fall of 2014, working with the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators to develop a new motorcycle operators manual. Working on some consistency around the country. State adoption of the model national standards for rider training. They're trying to standardize that. All the trainers would be interested in that, but as you can see, that's fall of 2016. So that could be down the road a little while. Examination of the feasibility of alcohol interlocks for motorcycles. Now we said in Texas we got what? 36% are impaired. Now how many of those people you think they drove multiple times before they killed themselves? Drunk. How many? Does y'all's arms work? Are y'all, okay. Yeah, okay, they work. So I actually went to Draeger Interlock Company, and I watched them put one on a motorcycle. It wasn't that big a deal. Now, the one thing that you probably don't want to do is require a rolling retest. Now, I think in California they had some requirements to actually do it, and I don't think they took the rolling retest out, and from what I understand, some guy was very creative. He took a longer tube, ran it up, and had it actually put on the inside of his helmet so he could actually blow in it when he was to give a test. But, you can set those up to give some type of visual or audio warning that you do a test and give them so many X minutes. You can have it all timed to where they can pull over, stop, and actually take the test. So you can do it. It does take, they have to have some place on your bike. If you've got one of those stripped down choppers with nothing, it may be hard to find it because you've got a little box. You got to be able to put a black box on there somewhere that controls the brain. But you know, it's possible, it's doable. The effect of sight distance training on motorcycle skills. Hey, y'all can't ever say NHTSA didn't do anything. We got a report. That's right there. You can go to it and look at it. I personally think sight distance is important to a bunch of people that have crashes. All you trainers agree? I mean, I know sometimes I'm not paying attention and I get my head down in a curve and I start getting antsy because all of a sudden I'm figuring I'm overriding this curve. I need to get my head up and look into the curve more so I can get back on my line. I think unfortunately there's a lot of people that hadn't been riding for a long time. Big issue. Big issue. They get in a curve following their buddies that's been riding and they're at speeds that they're not comfortable with and that curve just don't stop. And unfortunately they stop when they hit the tree or the wall or the car on the other side. So I think this is a really important thing for them all to learn that skill. Doing an examination of the slides. Washington's impoundment law. That's on the website now. I personally think that if you threaten to impound a guy's motorcycle if he's not properly endorsed, I think they're going to go get endorsed. Because I know most people don't like to see their bike on the back of a wrecker for any reason. And if they know at that point they're going to have to go and they're going to say, sorry, you can't proceed from this point. We're calling a wrecker. You need to get a ride. We're taking your bike because you're not legally authorized to drive that motorcycle. I think people will get endorsed. But there is a study out there on that. They're looking at Puerto Rico has a .02 law for motorcycle riders. I'm a teetotaler. I would not oppose having lower BAC for motorcyclists. I don't know if 02 is the limit. I know commercial motor vehicle operators who have to have a certain skill set to operate that commercial vehicle is at .04. You know, is that more appropriate for, you know, a motorcyclist who has to have I think a higher skill set riding a motorcycle than a car, having a lower BAC? I think that's something that could be discussed. Believe it or not, my slides and that aren't matching up. Entry-level motorcycle rider training, motorcycle crashes. Evaluating the extent to which entry-level motorcycle rider training affects motorcycle rider crashes. I think they just told me in here a little while ago that they're going to do that kind of evaluation here in the state of Texas. They're trying to get the databases of the crashes and the database of the people that have the test and see if they can do any analysis. We like those analysis people because they like to look at that stuff and try to determine whether or not it's making a difference in the safety of the person. I may have to do it up off of them. Instrumented on-road motorcycle riders, completion 2016. They're actually wiring up 160 motorcycles. And they're going to record everything they're doing to see what they're actually doing on the road as they're driving. And I think it's got the sensors, the cameras. They'll be able to go back and look at the data on all those 160 people and figure out exactly how they're responding. And that's a lot of stuff that they can record. Proper braking. You know, when are they putting the brakes on? What brake are they using? In what situation? So that's going to be, I think, a really cool thing for all the tech heads to look at. Improving crash avoidance and enhancing motorcycle visibility. I always have trouble with that word. Can anybody say it? Conspicuity. Trust me, if y'all wouldn't have helped me out, I'd have never got it. But those publications are all out there on the bottom. They've already been released. I said braking control is important. If you see a DOT HS number on one of these, there's a report out there that you can go to and you can find it on the internet. If you go on the internet and put in DOT HS 11448, use Google or one of those other search engines. Are you still recording this? Sometimes it's really it's really hard. I have trouble on the NHTSA websites finding stuff. And I work for NHTSA. But, you know, I can Google. And if I go put that number in, I'm 9 times out of 10 what I'm Googling for will come up. So use Google and go find those reports. That's all I have. Anybody else have another question? Yes, sir, that I can't answer.
Those 160 lights, who's the subject matter on that?
I had nothing. Remember what I said when I started off this section? Right. Don't ask me no details because I don't have a clue.
Because if you took 160 of us, you're going to get a whole different.
I have a feeling it ain't. Yeah, they did an application, and I think they went. I'm sure they, you know, those evaluation people back there, they're going to look at it and go, okay, we want X number of sport bikes, we want cruisers, we want some that's got 1 year riding ability, we want some that's got 10 years riding ability. So I'm sure they did a cross section of a bunch of the different folks.